Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on BJPenn.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton, episode 76, ahead of UFC Vegas 53. We're first joined by one half of the main event and Rob Font to preview his main event scrap against Marlon Vera. Really good chat with Rob, as always like talking to him. This is a fight that kind of caught him by surprise. He thought Sandhagen would be the guy, but he's excited he gets another main event, another opportunity to prove that he's a top five guy and really cement himself as probably being one win or two wins away from getting a title shot at bantamweight. We're then going to be joined by Grant Dawson, who's stepping up on relative short notice to fight Jared Gordon at 155 pounds. Grant, the big news is he left his longtime gym and coach James Krause to go down to American Top Team. He says no hard feelings, just kind of got a bit burnt out there, but he's excited for the opportunity to go to ATT. A lot of new bodies to work with. He says he feels motivated again. He thinks it's really going to show in his performance. We're then going to be joined by my fellow Canadian, Tristan Connelly, to preview his return against Darren Elkins. Connelly and Elkins were actually kind of rumored to fight before he was supposed to fight Pat Sabatini. Didn't come together, but Tristan obviously had that UFC debut against Michelle Pereira, had that win. Then 2 years, about a year and a half later, he turns against Pat Sabatini at featherweight, suffers a loss, but he kind of feels like he now has featherweight the cut down. He thinks he's going to be a lot better. He thinks he can just damage the damage and get a decision win, as he thinks Darren's going to be very hard to finish. We're then going to be joined by Gina Mazzani to preview her fight against Shanna Young. Gina knows could be do or die for her. She's coming off that loss to Priscilla Cachoeira. She does not want to lose two in a row. She knows if you lose two in a row in the UFC, that could be it for you. And she's confident coming off Tim Elliott's big win that they're doing everything right at James Krause's gym. They think they have the solid game plan to win this fight. And Gina actually spoke openly about Tim and his last win, about kind of the backlash he got a lot from Russian fans, about saying a lot of Russian fans messaged Gina and Tim saying, "Oh, I hope you guys die. I hope their kid dies," like stuff like that, which is never want to hear, but really appreciate Gina being open about that and kind of everything fighters go through after a win or a loss. And then we close things out talking to Gabe Green to preview his fight against Johan Lainesse. Lainesse 8-0, Gabe Green 10-3, coming off his first UFC win over Philip Rowe at UFC 258. A bit of a layoff. Gabe's ready to get going. He thinks he can get a big knockout win and start kind of working his way up these welterweight ranks. But be sure to share the show, subscribe, and be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio. All right, we're joined by UFC bantamweight Rob Font, who's headlining another show. Rob, how's it going, man?
Great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Obviously, this fight kind of, to me, came out of nowhere. Like, I talked to Tyson before Calvin's fight. He was kind of saying Corey Sandhagen made a lot of sense to you guys. That was the name that you guys kind of wanted. When did it kind of switch to Marlon? How did this fight kind of come together?
Yeah, you just as surprised as I was, man. I was nowhere near or even thinking about fighting Cheeto, but we got the call, we got the name, and I show up and do my thing.
Are you surprised like that you had to fight below you with Cheeto, or like is this a guy you figured you'd fight eventually?
I mean, if I figured eventually we kind of came into the UFC at kind of similar the same times, and I've always heard about him. I've obviously seen him, and especially after that big win versus Frankie. So like, I've seen him around and even fought on the same couple cards with him as well. But yeah, I just figured, obviously you always want to fight the next guy in front of you. So, I thought it made sense because me and Corey both coming off of losses. But I don't know. I'm not back there picking fights, so I don't know what they were thinking. We got offered the fight. We got offered another main event. We said yes. So it is what it is.
And what do you take away from your last fight? Obviously, another main event for you, and something that stuck out to me when I talked to Tyson is he was basically saying, like, if each round is 4.5 minutes, you win that fight easy. It was always that last, like, 20, 30 seconds when you got caught.
Yeah, it just showed the veteran in him. He knows how to close the round off. He stood in there and obviously caught me early, and then from there just really knew how to position himself on the ground and win the rounds with big punches and big damages. It sucked. I definitely thought I was landing a lot, but just definitely wasn't enough.
Was this about the right time for him then? About 4 months after your last one?
Say it one more time.
Was this about the right time frame for you to return? Like 4.5, 5 months after your last fight?
I think so. We took a little break. We didn't took some damage in that fight. We didn't. I think we took some time off, no contact, and we got right back to it. But I think that's good enough time.
And with Vera, like, what have you made of his run to UFC? Like, he's lost to Aldo as well, but his last two fights, he's looked pretty good, and he obviously knocked out Frankie, which was his big win so far.
Yeah, I mean, he looking sharp. He's looking sharp. He's doing his thing. He's one of those guys that's going to take tough fights, and if you look at his record, it's not easy to get him out of there. So he's not like you get in there and just finish this guy like that. So it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tricky, and I got to figure out a way to like finish him. I definitely want to be one of those guys that gets him out of there.
Have you watched his fight against Aldo to see kind of what you guys did similar against Aldo and what you kind of did differently?
I have. I got to rewatch it. I'm pretty sure Tyson will have the whole game plan and everything set up pretty soon. But yeah, I've seen it. I believe I fought that same night, so I've seen the
Mhm.
fight. I watched it. I was getting ready for the Aldo, but I'll rewatch it again. But yeah, I mean, I think from what I remember, he pushed him up against the cage a lot and was trying to wrestle with him, and I think Aldo was getting off here and there, but wasn't landing much. And I think that the last round was kind of like the most uh like clear and one-sided round for that Aldo and Cheeto fight. So I think he just took his back and just stood on his back and won the round. But I'll rewatch it and see what we can pick up from that fight.
This is his first UFC main event. Like, how do you think that's going to kind of change his style? Because he never had to go 5 rounds before.
Um, yeah, we'll see. You'll see. I don't think it's gonna phase him too much. I think this guy's been around for a while. He like I know he trains a lot, and so I know the extra 2 rounds shouldn't phase him. But hopefully it does. Hopefully it does. Hopefully he does too much or thinks too much or tries too hard, and I'll take advantage of it.
You guys are both kind of known as boxers. So do you kind of just imagine this one playing out striking, or do you think it's going to hit the mat at some point?
I think it's gonna hit the mat. You know, I definitely think it's gonna hit the mat. I just making sure I'm gonna be on top.
Your jab's always a big part of your game plan, but he has really good leg kicks too. Like, do you think that's kind of the big sticking point is if you can just get your jab going and you just not letting him get his leg kicks going? Because when he gets the leg kicks going, that's kind of when he starts to get his groove offensively.
Yeah, it's kind of like staying away from that from those kicks, making it making it awkward for him to kick. Like said, messing with his timing, messing with his setups, just making it hard for to hit. Just making him hard just to land anything really, and just constantly being a moving target. I believe is going to be the key to this fight. And then once I jump in on him, and I believe like he covers up, he shows up, I could overwhelm him, and then go from there.
The smaller octagon at the Apex, you've done it now a couple times. Do you think it plays much of a factor, or is it just another fight then?
Uh, Honestly, I think it's just another fight. Just a little tighter, a little quicker. Just gets a little more chaos, just a little faster.
Are you a bit disappointed you haven't got on these pay-per-views, like, to get in front of fans? Then on the flip side is your main event. So, like, what would you rather have? Like, would you rather be the main event at the Apex, or would you rather be on these pay-per-views in front of fans?
Well, like definitely, this is an honor to be a main event. And I've fought on pay per views before, so it's like I definitely probably most likely to get that main event. You get that extra check, so it's like why
Yeah.
not just do the main event. But like you probably get me a lot more exposure, probably bigger cards if you're fighting for the pay per view. But you're not getting that extra check, so you gotta weigh it out.
Marlon's never been finished, like 7 fights, 7 decision losses. Like, how do you kinda go into this one? Because I imagine you probably have to be ready to go 5 because he's just a very durable guy. He doesn't even really get rocked that often either.
Yeah, I mean, I want to pull it out of him. I want to get him throwing. I want to get him going and making more mistakes and capitalizing on them. It's hard to finish a guy at this level, especially a guy like Cheeto. So if I can get him going and getting comfortable and making him feel like he can start letting him loose and start landing stuff, I believe there's going to be a lot more leakage and opportunities for me to capitalize on his mistakes. But we just got to stay busy with the footwork, stay busy in his face. let him do his thing and then counter it. But yeah, I mean the goal is to get in there and get him out as soon as possible. So if I can finish this fight in 1 round, I'm gonna be happy. But I'm also knowing that because like he's tough. He hasn't been finished. It can go all 5 rounds, and I'll be prepared for that as well.
Do you think that is a benefit to you though? Is like you've gone 5 rounds with Garbrandt and Aldo, like you know what it's like when you have to go up for that fourth round, where it's going to be a brand new experience for him after that third round, where he still has to go another 10 minutes.
Yeah, hell yeah. Definitely. I think plays my advantage. Doing it twice and doing it back to back. So it's kind of like, I know my cardio's there. I even know if I'm hurt, I can still go the whole five. Um, and against some of the best guys out there. So that's definitely a feather in my cap. But I really do feel like like fighting these 5 rounds, it does take a little bit more strategy to it. And I think going through it with Cody and Aldo, I'm starting to really. I feel like I'm starting to figure out how to really fight the 5 round fight.
How do you kind of see it playing out then?
Um, again, like I said, I want to get in there and get busy with him in the first round and see how he reacts. Perfect world, we get in there, we rock him and put him away. But my plan is to get busy with him, see how he reacts, and if it doesn't happen in the first, I'm definitely trying to close it in by the third round.
Something whenever I talk to Tyson about you, he always brings up is your ground game and how underrated it is, and like you don't ever really show it off because you're striking so good. Like, but seeing how Aldo got a hold of Vera's back in the third round, seeing like how Grapplers had some success, like, do you think that's going to be part of the game plan? Is to just kind of mix in the grappling to see how he is down there?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I'm always improving, and I definitely do have an underrated ground game. I like to keep it standing, but I will shoot when I get a chance to. I feel like that this might be like a perfect opponent to kind of get down there and stay down there just a little longer and ride it out, play it out, and look for that submission if it does hit the ground.
Say you go out there and finish him, like, what do you think that does for you? You'd be the first guy to finish Vera, and like the guys like Aldo, O'Malley, all of them couldn't even put him away.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that'd be huge, but I don't think it like I don't think I like jump that many places or like I'm not like next in line for the title. So it's gonna be it'll be great. It'll be another obviously victory, another check on on that list. But I don't think this really does much for me.
We're doing this before Yan Sterling, so like after that fight happens, like it's imagine Dillashaw's next, but like, do you think you'd probably just need one more after that to get that title shot?
I think so. I think so. I figured that would have been the Corey fight, honestly. So we'll see how this plays out.
What do you kind of make of the top of the division? Because for you, like you're one of the most active bantamweights, and a lot of the top guys weren't fighting. Like he had Dillashaw return, he had the one fight. Now he's holding out for the title shot. You had that Yan Sterling for over a year, just kind of waiting, and there hasn't been much movement at the top. But it seems like it's finally starting to get going.
Yeah, I think we just got to figure this out. We got to get that championship fight finally going, and then see how it all plays out. But there's a lot of talent in this division. So to keep everybody active, it only benefits all of us.
Do you really plan to call anyone out? You're not much of a call guy, and to me, like there's only really 2, 3 guys after this one that you could probably fight anyways.
It's like realistically, it's like Corey or
Corey and the loser of the title fight, probably. Like,
yeah, So that's the thing. Like it's kind of like I got to go win a fight to go get a guy that I could be fighting right now. So it's kind of like I'm in that weird spot right now. But
oh, one fight is the O'Malley one. Is he's called you out? I know he's way below you, but is that a fight that would interest you? Just because I think if you go out there and beat him and say you finish him, like it's worth a lot more than beating some of these guys that are just kind of ranked right around you.
yeah, man, like guys, he's a star, right? He got that buzz, so it's kind of like he has that little following and that buzz that goes with it. So like, I something I definitely wouldn't turn down for sure. Like, you know, but like again, like is he ranked yet?
Yeah, he's 13 or 14, something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm already fighting behind, so I might as well
Yeah.
just fight him too. So it's like it would make sense. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I wouldn't turn down at all.
I know you like to be active, but once you kind of get to the top, like it's hard to get these fights. Like, what is kind of the goal for you this year? Like, you beat Cheeto, and then you're kind of having to wait for the rest of the top guys to be available and wanting to fight.
That's the thing though. I gotta beat him and be prepared just in case something happens and like injury. Obviously, never wish anything like that, but I just think that that'll be where I'm at. I'm gonna beat him and hopefully prepared and be ready for whoever and whatever happens next. But we'll see.
Just last thing I wanted to touch on was obviously Calvin came back in January with a big win. Like, what was that like? A lot of people were overlooking him. Like, Giga was his massive favorite. Everyone had kind of expected to Giga just
Uh,
to kind of roll right through him.
uh, it was like kind of mind blowing to think like how people kind of rid him off after losing to Max Holloway. It's like, come on, man. It's like one of the toughest featherweights out there, and obviously Calvin had a bad night that night, but people are writing him off like he's gonna get in there and the same thing's gonna happen, and then to see just one takedown and see kind of Giga just kind of like gas out after that, it was like, oh my god, come on, man. Then you can see like everybody you just feel the whole room just changed. Like, wait a minute, like, oh yeah, we forgot this kid's pretty good, And then from there, Calvin just did his thing, and he was having fun. He was spinning. He was landing like he probably landed over 1,000 elbows that fight, and he was just doing his thing. And it was just great to see him come back after a year off, and especially how Giga was talking before that fight, and seeing how Calvin how the fight actually played out. It was the great experience, and it definitely hyped me up, get back in there, and motivated me for sure.
Did that kind of like piss you guys off, especially Calvin, where he's talking about, oh, don't announce Zombie for that title fight. Like, I'm going to get it after I kind of roll through Calvin. Like, he totally dismissed Calvin that entire fight week. He's just saying, like, oh, Volk, Holloway pulled out. I'm fighting Volk next. Like,
Yeah,
it's me.
it was borderline disrespect. It was, and then like I said, like so like, again, like you get taken out one time in a 5 round fight, and you go back and look at it. You're completely gassed, and you're talking like that. Like, it's like, come on, man. Like you're talking about the top 10 in the world over here, and like you like it was just like reckless. I think obviously he's probably just doing it for whatever reason, trying to get his buzz going, but it was just so one sided. It was fun to watch.
Just last thing, like, how much confidence and like does that give you seeing Calvin go out there and do that, and like kind of hype you up for your own fight and kind of prove a lot of people that the doubters wrong with you after just losing one?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like this is what we try to do. We always try to, we might lose, but we're always trying to never really go back to back, and that's the plan, to go out there and hopefully put on a Calvin Cater performance and start spinning and landing a bunch of elbows.
Well, Rob, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh man, thank you.
Yeah.
Wreckage, yeah.
All right, we're joined by UFC lightweight Grant Dawson, who looks like he's enjoying the Florida weather. Grant, how's it going?
It's going, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, I always like talking to you, but that's kind of the first thing I want to touch on. Like, you and James are obviously very close. Like, you were at Glory for years. Like, how hard of a decision was that to leave and then go down to Florida?
I mean, it was obviously one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my life, if not the hardest decision. I came to James when I was 0-0 as a pro. We had 19 fights together, 19 professional fights together. He was in my corner for all of them except two. So it was very hard to make that decision and to separate myself from him. But being here for 2 months now, I think that it was the right decision to make. Usually the hard decisions to make are the right decisions to make, and I do think it was the right decision to make for me personally.
You obviously went down to American Top Team. Like, what kind of was the big reason? Was it just more bodies there? Like, is there a specific reason that wanted you to go to try out an ATT?
I mean, there's a bunch of different reasons. I think the three biggest reasons was I was feeling burnt out from, I trained at Glory for 8 years, and it's a great gym with a lot of really high level fighters. But when you see the same faces and the same, gray mats with the same white walls and the same gray walls behind that, it just kind of burns you out a bit. And, I wanted some different training partners. I wanted some different looks. And the other thing was the weather, man. The weather was just, so the week that I left, we had a snowstorm and a 75-degree weather day in the same week. And it was just the up and down. And in my camps, I would get sick a lot. So like, it would be like train hard for a week, be sick for a week, train hard for a week, be sick for a week. And I don't think it was the training or anything like that. I think it was the weather just constantly going up and down and just my immune system not being able to get a hold of what the hell is going on. Being here, the weather's consistent. I've only had one camp here, so really, what can I say? But I haven't been sick yet, and that's been huge for me. I'm getting a lot more sunlight. I'm getting a lot more attention to my health and to recovery. And the facility here is incredible. They really do provide everything that you would need.
And how did you kind of settle on ATT? Because there's a lot of good gyms in Florida. Like there's ATT, Sanford, MMA Masters. There's other gyms across the country. Like how'd you kind of settle on ATT?
Well, so there was two things that really happened. Was one of my friends, Johnny Eblin, trains here, and so he was kind of my in, and he was kind of the guy that we were talking to, and he actually let me live with him. Me, my girlfriend, and my best friend all lived with him for a month and a half at his place. You know, he was such an easy. He was such a help to making this transition easy. I can't thank that guy enough. You know, he's done quite a bit for me. But the other real reason too was we were talking about Sanford or ATT, and my fiance, who's a 105er, and my best friend who came with me, who's a 125er, they wouldn't have a whole lot of training partners at Sanford. So we decided to go check out ATT first and see how we liked it there. And we absolutely loved it. The facility is amazing. They have so many girls for my fiance to train with. They have so many high-level 125ers for my best friend to train with. And then they have so many good coaches and so many 155ers for me to train with. So really everything just kind of fell into place. And it was really just the perfect fit for us.
Just one last thing on this, and then we'll get into your fight is who are kind of the coaches then that's going to be in your corner and kind of the main people you're working with?
So my coach in charge is Mike Brown. He's running my camp. He's he's telling me when to rest, telling me the rounds. He's setting up everything for me. My other coach is Tiago Alves. He's my striking coach. He watches most of my sparring rounds. He kind of corners me through sparring rounds, as does Mike as well. And then my main training partner has been Tiago Moises, who's actually been just super great. I kind of just showed up and forced him to be my friend. And asked him to drill with me every day, and now we kind of just go every day. And he's been a really big help to improving the holes in my game. He's very, very talented, and he's probably one of the most well-rounded guys that I've ever gone with. So those three will be in my corner. I really feel like I've got a great team and a great camp behind me.
And with this one, like Jared was obviously supposed to fight someone else. You step in, like. How did this fight kind of come together? Is this something you saw the opponent fell out and you asked, or did the UFC come to you about stepping up?
It was a little bit of both. We were looking for a fight, and I was telling them that my weight was good and that I could make weight on, 3 or 4 weeks notice. 3 if I absolutely have to. 4 on would be easy, and I shouldn't say easy, but makeable. And my manager called me and was like, "Hey, Jared Gordon, his opponent fell out, and we were going to ask if we could put you in. Is that a fight you'd be excited for?" Jared's very well-rounded, very, very good fighter, very nice guy. I've met him a couple of times in Abu Dhabi. I like him a lot, and I think that me and him have fight of the night and bonus money written all over it. I think it's a great fight for me to, kind of show that I should be in the top 15. I think it's a great fight for me. If I can beat him, his only losses are incredibly good guys. Mm-hmm. So if I can get a dominant performance over him, like I plan to do, I think that top 15 would be next for sure.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned there, like his last loss, Charles Oliveira, he lost Diego Ferreira. The one loss was to Joaquim Silva, but that's a fight like he tore his knee. Like I think it was like the first or second rounds. He can't really put a whole lot, but other than that, like it's Oliveira and Ferreira and everyone else he's beaten. So like, how do you think you kind of match up against him? Just because Jared's a very like well-rounded guy. He's very similar to you where he has really good wrestling, like striking is underrated. Like, how do you kind of think you match up against him?
I mean, he's beaten. We're talking about his losses. He's beaten a lot of good guys. He's beaten. He's on a 3-fight win streak right now. Joe Solecki. I know I've watched Joe for a while. He's a very, very good fighter, very well-rounded fighter. And Jared beat him, which is so impressive. That's such a big win for Jared, and then he's got a bunch of others at 45. He's very, very well rounded and very, very talented. I can't say enough good things about the guy. I like his fighting style. I like him as a person, but I don't really like his chances in this fight. I think that we're very similar. I think that we're good grinders. I think the only thing is I do everything that he does just a little bit better. And I think that I am a bit more dangerous than him. He doesn't have a whole lot of finishes in the UFC. I've got a lot of finishes overall. I think that my danger factor is higher than his danger factor. Everything else is pretty even. So it's going to be a grinding fight. It's going to be a grueling fight. I honestly don't think I'm going to get him out of there. I think it's going to be a 3-round fight, and I'm ready for that. And that's honestly what I want after my last fight, kind of dropping the ball in the 3rd round. I want to prove that that was a one-time thing. I want to prove that that was a thing that is not going to hold me back from winning a belt.
With this, like with Jared, like you guys are both very good wrestlers, and like the sport better than most people. And when 2 wrestlers fight, it often turns out into like a kickboxing fight. Like, do you think that's going to be the case, or do you think you two are going to go at it on the mat?
Oh, we're going at it on the mat. I won't let it turn into a kickboxing match. He's either going to have to stuff 29 takedowns in a row to make it a kickboxing match, or I'm going to just have to be better at him than striking, because I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm going to bring. There's no secret. He can come to my camp for all he wants. There's no secret of what I'm going to do. There's no question of how I'm going to go out there and fight him. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to shoot 58 takedowns in a row until I get one. And then I'm going to hold him down and beat him up until he gives up, which won't happen, or until I submit him.
Do you think, though, the fight is going to be a bit different just with having like whole new voices in your corner? Like, is that something you're going to have to get used to in this one?
Yeah, I definitely think that things have changed. I think that, there's a lot of things that have changed. One, I've got a tan now, so that's huge. That's huge in itself. I do think you will see a better version of me. The same, but better. I'm not a kickboxer. I'm not a get out of the way, elusive striker. I'm a gritty, grinding, submission wrestler that loves ground and pound, and that's what I'm going to go out there to do. I'm going to try to push the pace. I'm going to shoot 1,000 takedowns on him. One will stick, hopefully, each round, and I'll be able to keep him down.
You get your hand raised here. Like, where do you think that puts you in the division? Because to me, I think Jared's a guy that's like just outside of that top 15, similar to you, where I think the winner of this could get a top 15 guy.
Oh, the winner of this gets a top 15 guy. No questions asked. If not ranked, I'm excuse me. I'm 17-1 and 1. I'm undefeated. I'm unbeaten in the UFC. I think that with a win over Gordon and, Lord willing, a finish, that's top 15's next, if not ranked as it is. But I do think that top 15 will be next. I think, Diego Fajeda is kind of on a 4-fight losing streak, I believe, something like that. I think that if I beat Jared, I think they'll replace him with me. If not, that could be a next matchup. It doesn't really matter. Right now, the only thing that matters to me is putting on a good performance against Jared Gordon.
I know we talked after your last fight. You said if they want to redo that Ricky fight, you're open to it, but it's not something you really need. Like, is that still something the case? Like, if they book it, fine, but it's not something that you're really going to be chasing after?
Yeah, I don't. I have nothing to prove in that fight, because if it was a Ricky Glenn thing, I would say, yeah, let's do it. And that's not to take anything away from Ricky. I do think he's a very good fighter, but I just think I dropped the ball. I made a split-second decision in the middle of the 3rd round, and it was the wrong decision to make. And that's something that I'm going to have to live with. If they want to run it back, fine. But that's not a fight that I'm really going to be chasing. I'm not here to be undefeated. I'm not here to be, demolished every single guy that I fight. I'm here to be a world champion for one night or bust. So I don't think Ricky Glenn brings me closer to the belt. But if it did, if they said, hey, beating him brings you closer to the top 15, brings you closer to the belt, I'll do it. But other than that, like, I don't really care about. He won half of a round against me. It was the first round I've ever lost. It's not a huge deal to me. There's going to be bumps and bruises, and you're just going to have to live with it.
And even with that fight, like, I've watched it back, and I still don't really think it's a draw, because if they call a 10-8 in the 3rd round, I think you can go 10-8 in either of your 2 rounds that you won. So like that's kind of something where I kind of get why you probably don't want that rematch, because you probably feel like you won that fight.
I'm not a big complaints guy, but I won that fight. I believe that I won that fight, and hats off to Ricky. If and credits given where credits due. If he had 10 more seconds, he would have won because of that choke. That choke was very deep. I fought out of it. I was lightheaded after. I was exhausted after. Kudos to him. More time, he probably would have had that choke and put me to sleep. Good for you, man. But that's not the rules we play under. More time, I would have had his back for the entire fight. It just, I won that 2-1, but it is what it is. Ricky's a very good fighter and a very experienced veteran. And honestly, that's the thing that I can take out of this is he's the first real veteran that I've ever fought. The first guy that was like, okay, dude, like you got rounds 1 and 2, but I'm not going away. He was the first guy that just didn't go away. And I learned a lot from that. And I learned, what I needed to from that. And honestly, that was the deciding factor that really showed me that I needed to move on. So in a way, I'm grateful to Ricky for what happened, but whatever, man. It's not a fight I'm trying to get back. I really don't care. I just want to be world champion. And I don't think Ricky Glenn gets me any closer to that belt than Jared Gordon does or somebody in the top 15.
And just a couple more things. You kind of mentioned it before that like you've been booked against Diego, like he's on a bit of a losing streak. Like, is that the guy you think would probably be next, or do you have your eye on someone else?
Anybody is fine. The only reason I bring up Diego is because we were slated to fight before, and then Ricky Glenn stepped up for him, and then he lost to my now teammate Gamrot, and so I'm down. As long as we don't train together, I'm down for whoever. It's just the fight that makes the most sense to me. I'm not ranked. He's ranked number 15. I'm on a pretty big win streak, or unbeaten streak, I should say. And he's kind of on a losing streak. It just makes sense to me. I'm down for Brad Riddell. I'm down for, whoever, as long as I don't train with them.
How much better do you think you are gonna be? Like, do you think it's gonna be like a kind of a coming out party, like all the new improvements at ATT, like all new stuff you've probably learned? Like, do you think this is kind of like a second version of you?
I think that the me now would beat the me 2 months ago pretty easily, if not finish him. I do think that I'm getting a lot better, and I do think that this world-class facility and with these world-class coaches and training partners have elevated me, and I think that love for MMA is back, that love, that fire, that excitement. I can't wait to go to bed so that I can wake up and go to the gym, and I haven't felt like that in a couple of years, honestly. It was kind of a job, and not that I didn't love the sport and I love doing this. It's just now it's back to 100% passion for the sport.
Just last thing, what's kind of the goal for you this year? Like, you can start off the year, get that win over Jared, and like what's kind of the rest of the year playing out for you?
I'm getting married. Excuse me. I'm getting married in November. So I want to get 2 fights before November and then hopefully book something right after. I just signed my new contract. So I want to get through these next 3 fights as fast as possible and sign another contract for more money. That's my goal right now. Win a world title, make as much money as I can along the way, and then do what I want to do after.
Oh, well, Grant, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
Really good fight.
All right, we're joined by UFC featherweight Tristan Connolly, who's back in action here. Tristan, how's it going, man?
Good, man. Really good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Obviously, a really big fight against Darren Elkins, like a guy that's been around the sport for forever. Like, how excited were you when you heard that was the guy you were fighting?
Oh, so excited. And I thought last year that I was going to be fighting him when I ended up fighting Pat. So for a couple of weeks, they were saying it's going to be Darren Elkins. I was so excited. And they brought Pat, and I was like, I was excited just to have a fight after so long, but like I was a super big letdown that I wasn't going to fight Darren Elkins. And as soon as they said his name again, of course, yeah, 100%. Like there's just so many reasons that it's an awesome fight. One, I'm a huge Darren Elkins fan. I've been following the guy for years, and he's an inspirational fighter, and I love him to pieces. This is the first time I'm ever going to fight someone that I know we're close to the same age, but I'm younger in the term of the sport of MMA. I haven't been in it for as long, or he's been wrestling since he's a kid. I didn't start training until I was about 19 or 20 years old. So I've grown up in a sense watching him. So super excited. And then stylistically, we're both cardio machines. I think I'm a little sharper, a little less miles on me, and I'm going to be able to pick him apart for the fight. But either way, like if that's not working, I fight a lot like he does in a lot of ways. So it'll be a fun fight either way. So I can't wait to get in there, and especially after a big layoff. So really excited.
Yeah, you were obviously supposed to fight Makwan at UFC 267. Like, how disappointing was that having to withdraw? Just because you've been itching to fight for so long, then you get the Pat fight, doesn't go your way. And I remember talking to you after, like, you wanted that quick turnaround, get right back in there.
I really did. And then I'd wait, and then my neck had 2 discs that were really bad in it, and we fixed the one before. But we were hoping the other one going to hold off. Maybe it'll hold, or maybe it'll last for years. But it got really bad really fast. And so the benefit this time, we did the surgery much quicker. So but the turnaround is pretty much the same. They said 6 to 12 months, and I was at 7 months last time. I'm going to be about 6.5 months this time, I think. So I 36 years old, but I'm still healing like no one else. So I feel great. I'm in, again, like incredible shape already. Like I've only been back training for 2 months, and I'm feeling awesome. So I really can't wait to show what I've been working on.
Dropping back to, or staying at featherweight, sorry, not jumping back to the upstate at your last fight, but are you kind of expecting the cut to go a bit easier this time now that you have one under the books?
Yeah, for sure. I'm already in like around 166, which last time I wasn't 166 till maybe 2 weeks out, and I was grinding to get down to that. And it was I put weight back on this time, but I think because I stayed for so long for a while, I kept it going. It came off way easier this time. I don't know why. But I got back down to the 160s way faster. So maybe I've reset my body weight a bit, and I'm super lean already. I'm going to be really lean by fight time. So I'm going to make the cut as easy as possible.
How weird is it still? Because even when your debut, it was weird to look at you and Michelle. It looks like there was a couple weight classes. And now, like, he's a guy that could easily fight at middleweight, and here you are fighting at featherweight, and you went out and beat him in your debut.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of funny. You look when I see him now, I'm like, Jesus, he's huge. How did but at the time of the fight, that's just not the way my head worked. I was like, nah, I'm gonna fight him. I don't really care. And so I said, it didn't really matter. I was gonna say yes to whoever it was. So in my head, I saw him. I'm like, he didn't look that big, and maybe because he was really drawn out when I saw him before the fight, and I was like, he didn't look that big. My friends were like, yeah, of course, and they said that. Like, after I left, they looked at each other like, what is he talking about? He's massive. Like, he's what's wrong with him? But in my head, I didn't think, and I went out there, and he kicked me and punched me, I think, once. I was like, okay, that's it. Okay, I'm fine. So just head forward and work. That's what I do in the gym every day.
Your last fight, what do you take away from that? Just because that was your featherweight debut in the UFC.
Yeah, well, there's lots that I've taken away from that. One, like Pat's really good. And I've watching Pat in his last couple of fights too. He's doing really, really well. So I think I did better against him than the other 2 guys did. But there's certain things that I don't want to say it wasn't cage rust at all, because I felt so comfortable. It was that I almost felt too comfortable, too relaxed. I wasn't really nervous for the fight as much. And I felt like I was trying to technically, once he got me down, I was, trying to technically counter him. And such a smooth technical grappler. He's able to just counter with me and get to a dominant position. And I didn't really have enough of a fire under my ass. And like at the end of the fight, I really, if you lose by decision and you're not exhausted, you fucked up. And like I wasn't very tired, and it was I kind of kept myself too relaxed, and not that it might have made a difference, but I could have used a lot more energy during the fight. And that's something that I every day in training now, making sure I'm pushing all the time, so that it's my habit. I'm not just going through the motions or doing any like off rounds. It's just everything is hard paced round. So that's what my only state of mind is when I get in there.
With Elkins, like, what have you kind of made of his past couple fights? Like, he was on that 4-fight losing streak, but you look at the guys he lost to, like Volkanovski, Ricardo
Yeah.
Lamas, Ryan Hall. I thought he beat Landwehr, and then he won 2 in a row, and then he obviously just lost to Cub, which kind of surprised people that it ended in the first round because Cub's because Algas has taken a lot of shots from the guys and been able to survive it.
Cub. It was, I think, Cub was hitting him with shots he didn't really see coming. He was kind of tricking him, and that as a fighter, it's like sometimes those are the ones that get you. Like when your head's like down and you're banging, man, like it's crazy. Like you can just go nuts, but then something like you just don't see hits you, and your brain is just doesn't get it, and it gets all scrambled and is trying to recalculate, and another thing hits you, and that's kind of what happens. And Cub did a great job, just sort of baiting him in, waiting, hitting him. I just kind of picking him apart really quick, and he just hit him with some shots that didn't see coming. I think it was in that wheel kick kind of, I think, hidden behind the ear maybe a little bit, and that that can really. But sometimes you'll get decent sparring, but you'll block a kick and then the foot hits you in the back of the head, and it's like, whoa, like you're fine. Like 2 seconds later, you're fine, but if you get caught again in that moment, it can your brain just has a cascading effect. So I think that's kind of what happened with that last one.
And how do you think you match up against Darren? Because to me, it's a really intriguing matchup because both you guys are really good grapplers, really high level cardio, and I think both you guys' striking is underrated.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really even match energy wise. I think we're going to kind of match each other in the cardio department. So I know I'm not gonna make the mistake of going for the kill on any submissions, or if he's hurt, really going hard at him, because how many times have we seen that fail people? He just, hit. So one thing is he'll take a lot, but keep doing enough, and then just pour it on you when you get tired. So you got to be really patient with him. So I think his wrestling in space is going to be better than mine on the wall. I think mine's going to be better than his. I'm sneaky on the wall, but I spend most of my time wrestling on the wall, and I have for years and years and years. But he's definitely that. And they're grappling on the ground. I think it's going to be pretty even. Like we're both very tenacious, very similar. I grapple a lot like him when I put the pressure on, and so does he. So I think it's going to matter a lot who ends up on top of the other one. I think it's going to be real hard for whoever's underneath the other one, because I think we both have great top control. And if I know the type of guy where it's like, who wins the rounds is usually the guy that gets the guy down first, and then there's usually no reversal, or gets to you can't get a guy like with Pat. I couldn't shake him off my back, man. He's real tight on there, and once I was there, I was like, well, that's a round, right? So I really got to be more on top and not letting that happen and fighting it before, that's what I'm really working on.
Training camp, are you doing it in Vegas or back home in Vancouver?
I've been back home in Vancouver up to this point, and I'm going to be heading down to Vegas on Saturday. Actually, I'm driving down, and I'm going to stay there for 3 weeks probably, and then come back, do a last couple hard weeks here, and head back to Vegas for 2 weeks before the fight to just be used to the air, climate, everything. Weight cuts, awesome when you get the PI.
Is it going to be a bit weird? This is your first fight at the Apex in front of no one. You got spoiled. Your first fight was before the pandemic. Then you come back and you're on the first
right onto it. So yeah, it will be super weird. I've been in there. I cornered Cole and Achilles in there, so I've been in there. But it's going to be interesting to fight in there, especially in the small cage. I mean, the small cage is kind of that's what I have at my gym, so it's what I'm used to anyway.
How do you kind of see it going out? Just because Darren's nicknamed the Damage for a reason, he could take a lot of punishment. He's a tough guy to get out of there.
I think my highest chances of winning is by decision. It sounds boring, but I want to put that in my head, because when you're if the finish comes, the finish comes. But especially with a guy like him, being too hunting for it, in their mind, if I put that in my mind, that might be what ends me. So I think way I'm going to win is I'm going to sort of beat him more on the feet, and we're going to end up on the fence. And I'll take him down off the fence and control him and chip away and beat him, and he'll probably scramble back up, and then I'll hit him as he gets up, and then we'll back away and we'll do it again. That's how I kind of see it going round to round. And if there's something in there and I hurt him, great. If not, I'll be ready to do it for the full 15 minutes at a high pace.
Where do you think a win over Darren puts you? Because only really top guys and guys in the ranks have really been able to beat him. And he's kind of beaten all those guys that are on the come up.
For sure. Yeah. I think it definitely, it puts me into the 145 division, like I'm really not in there right yet. Right. I'm on one loss. So it really puts me there in the mix with a lot of the guys, newer guys coming in that are, 1 win, 2 wins, or potentially even, someone else that's sort of, no, I don't think I'll be ready for a rank for a few fights, obviously, but I'm one of the guys getting closer to that for sure.
What's kind of the goal for you this year? Like, I imagine it has to be get a couple fights in this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to fight 3 times this year. Hopefully I come out of this one with no injuries, feel really good, and just be ready for whatever comes up. I want to stay ready for potentially short notice fights. So I got to make up for lost time. I'm not getting any younger.
Short notice fights, is that even something you'd be willing to do at like 55 if the right opportunity came up?
Yep. Yeah. If they right opponent at 55 or even a catch weight of 150, if it was I would definitely be interested in doing that.
Just last thing, like you obviously work with a lot of high level guys in Vancouver, like Cole, Achilles, like what's kind of training like there? Because you've seen a lot more Canadians get into the UFC as well, or get their shot on the Contender Series.
Yeah, there's lots of good guys up here. I mean, like say Cole and Achilles. Cole's actually down in Kansas with James Krause. He's been there for a couple months training. He's planning on fighting really soon. And then Bibiano Fernandez as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of training with him. I'm actually doing I'm training with Arjun Bowler, ONE FC heavyweight champion too. But it's fun. He knows how to like he's so technical. He knows how much pressure to put on and like not to be a bullet. Like, and but he's like wearing a weight when he'll lean on me and stuff. It's hard, but he'll let me have the success I need. He won't just completely wear on me, but so rounds with him are like, it's like wearing a vest the whole time. Right. So I got a good mix of guys here, and there's a whole bunch of local guys that are really good as well. Bryce Gujan, Josh Kukowski are both working with me a lot this camp, just because they're 2 guys that put a lot of forward pressure. Having them mix it up on me is really, and one's a little smaller, one's a little bigger. So the 2 of them are a deadly pair. I'm working with my old MMA coach, Adam Ryan. And then I've started working with Josh Johnson's brother, Jay Johnsey, on my striking. So I'm going to have them in my corner.
Well, Tristan, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're joined by Gina Mazzani, who's back in action here pretty soon. Gina, how's it going?
Pretty good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, obviously returning end of April. Like, was this a lot longer of a layoff than I imagined you wanted?
I honestly did want a little bit of a layoff because I just wanted to improve a lot and really skill build. And so that time in between, I definitely took advantage of and skill builded. It took time just to get better and, make sure the next time I'm in there, I'm ready for anything.
What do you take away from your last fight then?
I was in that fight. I felt like I was very, very tense. So every time I took her down, I just was wanting to hold on to her. And I felt like that was the only, for whatever reason in my brain at that time, I felt like that was the only way I was going to beat her. And so I think that might have exhausted me a little bit. I'm not really sure. So definitely I'm way up in my all my cardio. I'm trying to make sure that I can punch for 25 minutes and not get tuckered out. I'm just really amping everything. But yeah, I don't know. There's all sorts of things I'm working on. Like too many to list.
And like this whole time off, like how beneficial do you think that will be in the long run, where you can spend like 11 months in the gym with James and all the other people in there, just kind of skill building, like you mentioned, and just improving your overall game?
Yeah, I think that's the one of the many cool things about Glory MMA is we all really work together. And so I've been getting a lot of one-on-one time with like Jeff Molina, Jason High, Kevin Kroom, my fiance, Tim Elliott. I've just been really taking advantage of being surrounded by skillful athletes and fighters and people who are going through, dealing with the same situations that I potentially am going to be dealing with, and taking everything I can from it. So it's so using that time, even with my time off, I still had one-on-ones. I maintained, tried to maintain at least 5 to 6 days a week of pro practice and with additional like other skill building practices. So hopefully in the long run, it's going to pay off. But I feel like you can't go wrong by just trying to get better.
And with Shayna Young, like, how much do you know about her? You both fought Macy. Obviously, that was her debut on short notice. But like, what have you kind of made of her run? She's 0-2, but she's fought 2 really good girls.
Yeah, she definitely has a really tough. She's really had a tough run. I can vouch for that. I've also, when I first started in the UFC, they gave me tough girls, and so I'm definitely not looking past her. I'm definitely not like, oh, I'm gonna beat her. You know, obviously, I'm confident in my own skill set. I think she's gonna be tough. I think she's gonna be a little squirrely. I think she's gonna be. I think she's definitely gonna look to like come out and blitz me and all that fun stuff. But I'm more so focusing on myself and focusing on like bringing out the best Gina I can be, because I am pretty good, and I still don't think I've fought to my fullest potential, as I do in the gym. So I'm hoping to show that on April 30th.
The one thing I wanted to clarify, just because you guys have fought in both divisions, it's a flyweight fight, right?
Yes, it is.
So she's dropping down again, because I know she fought
Yeah.
flyweight, obviously, on the regional scene.
Yeah, this will be her first flyweight fight, which I'm excited for that too. She does look pretty big, but I don't know. Luckily we all have to weigh the same at 125. I'm a pretty big 125, where I have to diet 10 weeks out and weigh all my food, and I turn into a little tiny human, but it's very well worth it.
How do you think you match up against her?
I think it's a good fight. I think I think that I am a little bit more of a well-rounded fighter. I focus on my striking, my grappling, my wrestling. I think she's like a little bit more of a striker. But I feel like my striking's been doing pretty well. I'm not really sure, because like she's only had 2 fights in the UFC so far, and I've seen some of her fights in Invicta, but she tends to come out kind of different every fight. So like I mentioned before, I'm not focusing too much on her. I'm focusing more on like my reaction, what I'm gonna do, because I don't really know what she's gonna do. I have no idea. I think I would like to think that her game plan would be to keep it standing with me and not get on the ground with me. So I have a feeling that's what's gonna happen, but I just got to get my paws on her.
Yeah, and you have the reach advantage too. So how important do you think that is? Where say it stays standing, like you can kind of not let her get on side, or it's just a bit easier for you to get inside just because you are the taller and longer fighter.
Yeah, I do. That's the thing too, is when I mentioned before, like I want to fight to my fullest potential. I have really good striking, and I do great when I'm in the gym, and when I'm in fights, I just tend to want to wrestle because I feel like that's just my comfort zone. So I'm really hoping that we're going to all see some of my striking, and just mix all full on MMA striking to fit-ins to taking her down, beating her up. And like I said, she's going to be really tough. I know she's going to be tough. And I'm just going to be, and I know she's going to have a good gas tank. So I'm just going to prepare for all that.
How do you kind of see it playing out? Just because it is like a really intriguing one. I know you always like going out there and getting that finish when you fight.
Yeah, I'm definitely going for that finish. I've been working a lot more on a lot more spots to where I can finish, and working towards there instead of just getting on the ground, holding on to her and keeping that, because that works. But I feel like at this game, you really have to get them to a spot where they can't go anywhere, and looking for more finishing spots, like more submissions and all that fun stuff. But I'm doing it all because I'm ready. I'm just going to be ready for anything, because you never know with these ladies.
Is there like any pressure on you, just because especially in the UFC, like you never want to lose 2 in a row? Like last time that happened, you obviously were released. Like I think Shayna's probably in that same spot where she's kind of fighting for her job as well.
Yeah, but to be fair, I feel like that pressure is always there. Even when you have, like, people get fired off of wins, so it's like, and this is the last fight of my contract, and there's a possible chance that I could beat her ass, and then UFC be like, we're not interested. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to be like not interested, but I don't, but like anything can happen with the UFC. So in my mind, back of my mind, that pressure is always there. yeah, it kind of feels like you're fighting for your job in a way, but I just, if I focus on performing, I'm going to win and I'm going to do fine. But if I focus on oh, I really gotta get this win, and like put extra pressure, unnecessary pressure on myself, like it just doesn't benefit me really. But yeah, I definitely don't want to lose 2 in a row. Don't want to lose any, but shit happens. But yeah, really, really gonna try, and I'm really trying not to lose this one.
Is that something like the UFC and both you guys just kind of agreed, let's fight out this deal and kind of see what happens next, or did you want to re-sign before this one?
I just don't. I mean, this is the last fight of my contract. I leave that all to my manager, and I'm sure that everyone's on the same page where it's like, I lost my last fight. I don't expect them to, give me a deal now. Like once they see what I can do with Shanna Young on April 30th, then I think I'm more apt to get a good deal. But we just got to wait and see how everything plays out. And, but that's just kind of how how the fight game goes. You just got to, fight your ass off and hope for the best.
You've been at flyweight now for 3 fights again. So how is the cut just becoming a lot easier now that you kind of know exactly what to do?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's, I mean, I wouldn't say it's easier.
Yeah, they're never easy.
It's never easy. I mean, but I really, really enjoy the process. I work with Tyler Mitten, my nutritionist, and I started this camp probably 15 weeks out where I was cleaning up my diet. I started my 2-a-days, and then 10 weeks out, I started my hardcore diet where I don't cheat, I don't do anything, and I'm weighing out my food, and I just really enjoy the process. I really feel like it helps me get into that kind of primal, violent kind of mode where I feel more like a soldier or like a warrior where I'm like, I do this, and this to go to battle and feel good about it. So I really, it's not easy, but I do enjoy the process. It is to get down to 125.
And obviously Tim picked up a big win too. Like what you kind of make of that, because he was the betting underdog. Like a lot of people didn't really think he was going to pull that off. And it was a really good performance from him.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great. I thought he did amazing. I thought he did great. There's been a lot of trash on the internet. I'm sure everyone has seen, but whatever. I think they're kind of being sore losers, but whatever. It happens.
The Russian fans are the worst. Like, well, I'll like interview Tim, and like the comments are all just like Russian people just being like, oh, Tagir is going to smoke him. Or I interview like someone that's fighting like Islam or any of those. They're all like, and I even talk to them and they're like, yeah, I get random DMs by these like random fans saying like, oh, it's only you have this many days until this fighter like smashes you and stuff. I'm like, that's crazy. Like
they're so nasty. Like I was talking about this today. Like we do not get paid enough money for the kind of shit we have to deal with. Like literally this morning, we were getting messages of death threats and how they're going to do terrible things to our daughter, and how they wish death upon me and Tim and his wife and all of his family. And it's just like, what? Like Tim's fought over 25 fights in the UFC, and not one time has he gotten a warning for anything illegal. He's been illegally kneed. He's had all sorts of shit to happen to him, but he took it like a man. And it's just crazy the shit that he's getting now. And it honestly kind of like takes the fun out of it, where it's like, I mean, it's a fist fight. Like shit's gonna happen, and that's not his job. He's not the referee. That's the referee's job. His job is to fight, and that's what he did. And but we do not deserve all the death threats and terrible things they're saying about our kid. Like, yeah, they're the worst. Like it's disgusting. Like, way to be a sore loser.
And Tim's got to be like one of the nicest fighters in the whole UFC. Like, I don't understand how, like, I always say that even when I talk to like Jeff, like no one can say one bad thing about either Jeff or Tim. Like they're literally the nicest guys going.
No, and that's the crazy thing is like Tim is one of the most selfless, like kind people I've ever met. Like I can't even tell you how many like fighters Tim's helped out, like financially, giving them a place to stay. Like we've had several fighters just come stay with us. We pay their way and we help them out, and we give them the help that we've always wanted. Like he really gives back to the MMA community, and he really gives back to like the youth, and he's just such a good dude, and like the kind of hate he's getting right now is complete bullshit. It's just it just makes me sick. Honestly, it just kind of makes me not really care for MMA fans as much anymore because they're so quick to turn. I'm a big pro wrestling fan, and pro wrestling fans are the best fans in the world because they are your fan till the end. Football fans are the best because they are your fan until the end. And it's like MMA fans, like you go to grab someone's wrist and you accidentally grab their glove, and then you use it and to win a fight, like, and then now they want you to die and go kill themselves. Like, oh, like what? Fuck you. Like it's just crazy. It's disgusting. Like I'm over it.
Just a couple more things. Like, I imagine corner is James, Tim, and then who's going to be that third?
Maybe my brother. I'm not really sure. I kind of like to decide right before I head out and just see how I'm feeling with my group. But it's definitely Tim and James. They're my guys. They're my two favorite humans ever. They help me feel the most prepared for battle. So, yeah, just those two for now.
Does seeing Tim get that win, like, does that help your confidence grow, especially going into this fight?
100%, 110%. It's one of those things where it's like, especially him being the underdog and him fighting the Russians and everyone talking all this trash and being so nasty. And then I just watched how Tim just focused, and Tim literally just focused on himself, and he listened to his coach, and he did what he needed to do. And just watching him go through adversity like that and coming out on top, it's very, very inspiring. And yeah, I'm definitely taking advantage of that momentum, and I'm running with it. And I feel like our whole team is using that momentum, running with it.
Just last thing, like, is it going to be a bit weird going back to the Apex? Last fight was in front of the crowd. Like, Tim's fight was in front of the crowd. Like, I imagine it has to be a bit weird that's going back there.
I really don't mind the Apex. At first I was like, oh, this sucks. I miss the fans. But since Tim's fight and all like the bullshit we're dealing with, like I'm ready to, I'm just down to go in there and do my job. And I like it because I can listen to their corner and I can listen to my corner. I remember when I fought Rachel Ostovich, I feel like I was like so much more involved because I could hear her corner and then I could hear my corner, and her corner's like, oh, she's getting tired. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Screw you. And then like, I'll hear James and I hear I like it because I can hear everyone. I don't like it because I can hear myself breathe, and I'm kind of a mouth breather. So like that sucks. But no, I'm just grateful to fight wherever I can fight, to be honest.
Oh, well, Gina, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this.
Heck yeah.
All right, we're joined by Gabe Green, who's finally back in action. Gabe, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be back and have a fight.
Yeah, been a while. Like, obviously, you picked up that first UFC win, UFC 258 in February. You were booked against Dwight Grant in October. Like, what kind of was the reason for that long a layoff, and then obviously having to pull out of that Grant fight?
Yeah, in between the Grant fight and my win, I had eye surgery, just PRK. I was fighting pretty blind before. Now I got 20/20 vision and solid depth perception. So fighting should be a little bit easier now. It seems to be a little bit easier. I can actually see punches come into my face, so that's cool. And then I had a little bit of a weird accident during training and put a giant stop to training altogether while I was getting ready for Grant. So that sucked. But everything's good now. I'm completely cleared. Back at practice. No injuries this time. Knock on wood. No injuries that happened again too. Because I'm really excited to get back in there.
Yeah, and then you get offered Johan Laness. Like, how much did you know about him? He's an undefeated guy, and he looked pretty impressive on the Contender Series.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't I didn't know about him too much. I didn't know he was on the Contender Series, but one of my friends is one of those guys that watches like every single fight, and I asked him about it. And, he gave him a lot of respect and said he was good, and I was just like, oh, I mean, cool, bring it. He's not the first undefeated guy I've fought, so I mean, there's another guy who's undefeated that's gonna get his first L from me.
And you only have 2 UFC fights, but that's still more than him. Like, do you think that's a big advantage too? Is because everyone kind of talks about those octagon jitters and like just finally seeing the UFC on the gloves. Like, it's just a whole different thing than fighting on the regional scene.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a person to person thing. Some people rise to the occasion. Some people do. I mean, like I beat Roe, who won 2 fights since, after fighting me. So I mean, I don't know if the guys he fought were just, not as good as me, or if he got over some jitters or what. But so I mean, it definitely can be a thing. And so I mean, either way, I'm bringing it, and doesn't matter. I'm gonna win.
It'll be 14 months basically since your last fight. Like, how much better do you think you will be? Like, that's a lot of time to learn new stuff, improve your already good stuff. And then plus you mentioned the eye that you can see finally, and that's probably only going to help.
Yeah, no, I feel like I've gotten dramatically better. That and I mean, my first fight in the UFC, it was like 2 years off the couch. I wasn't even training. Everything was closed. COVID. They just called me up. I walked in, fought D-Rod, lost a decision. But then after that, I think I trained probably like 3 months, and then I went through a couple other injuries, didn't train for 6 months straight, and then I trained probably like 4 weeks for Roe after that. So like there wasn't much time to get like actually better between D-Rod and Roe. And then this time I was able to stay pretty healthy minus the little Grant incident right before Grant. So I've actually been, there's been a lot of solid time on the mats in between that fight with Roe and now. So everyone's going to see just a dramatically different me.
What is kind of the game plan? Is this like, or not game plan, but training camp? Is it more just like worrying about yourself, or you can eventually like start studying him? Like, are you one of those guys that like studying film, or do you kind of hand that off to your coaches and just kind of worry about yourself?
I mean, I definitely make sure that I'm doing better and better every day, and I worry about myself a lot too. I try not to get too worried about what anyone else is doing in general. But I mean, yeah, we've my coach looked at him, and then I watched some of his film just to, see what we're working with. I definitely don't want to go in there just blind, see what he's got, see what that knockout power is about. 8-0 with a bunch of knockouts. I just wanted to see how it looked and what it, try to see what his tendencies are and stuff like that.
Yeah, and a bunch of first round and early knockouts. So is that something that you even notice? Like, maybe you're a bit tentative in those like opening minutes to like avoid those, like, because I've noticed like he goes like flying knees pretty early. A lot of like just exerts a lot of energy in those first couple of minutes trying to get you out of there early.
Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna go out there and I'm just gonna fight him,
Yeah.
I fully welcome him to bring it, and I'm gonna bring it too, and I think it's gonna be fun to watch.
Do you kind of just view this as a striking fight? Like, to me, I couldn't see really either of you guys really wrestling, but I think it is there for like both of you if you guys need it. Or would you rather play it on the feed?
I mean, I'm just partial to striking. I love doing it, It's just what I think is fun. I think it's what people like to see as far as an entertainment value goes, So, I mean, if wrestling happens or, jiu-jitsu and stuff happens, I mean, I'm sure both of us are gonna, take what's given. But I mean, I'm always gonna prefer to just go out there and bang.
How do you kind of see yourself winning? Just because he is undefeated, he has looked good, but like it's fair to say he hasn't really fought anyone of your skill, which is common when you're on the regional scene.
I think I'm thinking second round knockout. I'm feeling it. I think that's what it's gonna be.
Do you think too, just because his past 2 fights have been these knockouts, and especially in the contender series, like he got the guy out of there in like 90 seconds, that when you're still there in that second and say even goes in that third round, like that's going to frustrate him a little that he can't knock you out?
I mean, it just might. I can't tell you what's going to be going through his brain or not, but I mean, I've fought some guys that like you hit them a bunch of times and they just don't fall down yet, and you're like, man, what's this guy made out of? So I mean, I definitely don't plan on getting knocked out. So it's gonna be, if that's what he thinks he's gonna do to me, then he's gonna be very mistaken that night.
Do you think ring rust is going to be much of a factor? Like I've talked to some fighters, they think it's real. Some fighters don't. I think it really kind of depends on the person.
I mean, I think as long as I think ring rust is a thing if you're not training like at all, or if you're someone who doesn't like fighting in front of people. I love it. I love fighting in front of people. I think I'm better when people are watching me fight. I'm better at fight night than I am in the gym. I definitely rise to the occasion that way. And yeah, as long as I've been training, I think ring rust isn't a thing.
Yeah, and you had the layoff before the Rodriguez fight, and even though that was on short notice, like you still fought very good and looked pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, fighting's just fun. There's stuff to think about, but if all I gotta do is go out there and fight, it's just like, it's any other day for me.
You get your hand raised here. Like, where do you think that puts you in the division? Because that'd be 2 wins in a row, like 2 wins with full camps, and especially that row win is looking more and more impressive since that event.
Yeah, he keeps on winning. I'm like, yeah, bro, keep winning, keep making me look good. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it puts me in a position to rematch D-Rod soon, because I definitely want that back. I mean, he's top 15 right now, unless he moved out. I don't know. I know they reworked some numbers. But I mean, last time I checked, he was top 15, and I definitely want that rematch with him really, really bad.
How different do you think it goes on a full camp? Because that was a competitive fight, and you took that on what? Like, I was trying to remember. I think it was like the Monday of fight week. Like, it was really short notice.
Tuesday morning, 4 in the morning. They called me and told me, get down here by 11 if you want to fight. Yeah, I mean, I think it goes totally different. I think I honestly, I think I finish him. I don't think it goes the distance.
Is that something you think could happen next? Do you think you need like probably another win or two after that? Because he's a guy that's probably looking ahead and trying to get guys in the rankings.
Yeah, I think especially he hasn't lost, right? So I think that if he doesn't lose, I might need a fight or two first, but definitely want it. I mean, if he does fight somebody else and loses a fight, it makes it a little more realer sooner. But I mean, whichever the case, I definitely want that back. I'm gonna make it happen.
Are you surprised this is just on like a fight night at the Apex? Like I thought this fight to me is like a really fun and I think should have been in front of fans on a pay-per-view.
I mean, the UFC does what the UFC wants. I mean, I don't mind it. At least I get to go somewhere and fight somebody. That's the important thing. And I mean, there's still going to be viewers. People are still going to see me. I really don't know. I don't think that many people have been announced on the card. So, I mean, if anything, we'll just be, the showstopper, and I'm cool with that too.
What is kind of the goal for you this year? Like, I imagine it has to get pretty active after just having all last year off.
Yeah, I mean, I want to fight at least 3 this year. At least. I mean, if I could get 4, that'd be even better. If I could get 5, even better than that. But minimum of 3. I used to be so active. I was fighting like 6 times a year. Now I'm like barely fighting at all because of little things happening here and there. So, I mean, yeah, just trying to stay healthy and get back in there as soon as possible.
You get this win, that'll be 2 in a row, and say you get another one. Like, do you think that third fight by the end of this year could be a ranked guy pretty easily? Because that would be 3 in a row at welterweight.
I mean, ideally, that'd be that. I'm all for it. It's not up to me to make those matches. Sean Shelby does his thing. So, I mean, I'm ready for whoever they throw in front of me. So, after I beat this guy, just keep on handing him to me. I'll keep on getting my hand raised, and we'll just keep on going.
What is probably the time frame? Like, assuming you're all healthy, probably because this is end of April. You're probably thinking like probably end of summer, and then near the end of the year would be your 3 fights.
End of April. Yeah, maybe again in like June or July, and then again in September, October. That sounds pretty good.
Well, I know you're a Cali guy. There's targeting like end of July pay-per-view in Anaheim that would probably work for you to fight near home.
That would be amazing if we could get on that. Yeah, if that's a thing, because I have people that have been wanting to watch me fight live. I haven't fought in front of a crowd since 2018. Been a long time, yeah, and a bunch of people. I know I'd sell a bunch of tickets for that for sure.
Just last thing, like you've already experienced the Apex twice, but do you think the smaller octagon really plays much of a role in the fight, or is it's just a fight no matter what?
I mean, I prefer a small cage. I want a fight to happen. I don't want people to run away from anybody. If I could fight inside of a phone booth, I would. So I'm a little bit biased on that question, you know.
Mhm.
But even then, you know, like I don't know if it matters completely. At least not with my, you know, style fighting, my game plan. I try to make the ring as small as possible and just fight the guy there. So with me, not in particular, but I mean, for some guys who like to, you know, back up and circle away and, you know, like not have their back to the cage and make a bunch of space, I definitely can see it, you know, changing things, not having as much room to move around freely for sure. But yeah, I mean, it just depends on who's fighting.
Well, Gabe, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.